Budget cuts at Sweet and Sour? No. I'm in a wheelchair, courtesy of Rebound WA and my mate Tim Priest. We're up for the Wheelchair Challenge. There it is, Rebound WA. And if you want to get involved and raise some money for those who are in wheelchairs and people who are just disabled. I'm stuck on the chair. Hang on. There's some of the problems that people in wheelchairs have to deal with. Hang on, I'll put that there and we'll go across. We'll get this right. Gosh, it's a tough gig. Be a tough gig for anybody. In segment 3, we'll let you know how you can get involved in Rebound WA's Wheelchair Challenge. For now, these are the letters coming up right now that the panel will be discussing. The misogynistic blokey culture that's been around for decades is still very prevalent, especially in our youth. Really? We've got a lot of youth here. Let's see what they've got to say too. Second letter tonight. We had the worst night of our lives. They went out to celebrate. But it wasn't a terribly good night because everyone around them was loud, obnoxious and drunk. And the last letter tonight, before we have the panel in, it seems that we only want to be cashing in and to hell with our health, the health of our planet and our next generation. Why? There's no recycling and the plastic bags is a con, really. That's what the letter writer is saying. Panellists coming in right now, eh? Right now, don't go away, Sweet and Sour, coming up right now.
Got a problem, big or small, would a miracle be nice? Our monthly crew is back, churning out advice. You might even laugh a bit in the following half hour. Park your backside on the couch, cause baby it's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Pour some sugar on there, baby.
It's time for Sweet and Sour.
How's about some chili?
It's time for Sweet and Sour.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sweet and Sour. I'll take my Rebound hat off. We'll chat about it in segment 3 and we'll talk amongst our panellists. Gary Mitchell with you for the next half hour on Sweet and Sour. Thanks for joining us tonight. Who's up? My mate Slim's here first up. Hello, Slim.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm always good. We haven't seen you for ages.
I know. I've been terribly sick, you know.
Of?
Profoundly ill.
Of Sweet and Sour?
No, my menopause. It's terminal. It's terminal.
It'll get you in about 40, 50 years?
I'm just telling you, you know, turning into a misery guts, you know, hot flushes, sore nipples, that type of thing, you know what I mean? What can you do about it?
No, I don't know what you mean, but it's good to have you here,
Well,
mate.
I'm glad I'm fit
Not
enough
yet.
to be here tonight, you know what I mean?
All right, well, good to have you here, mate, too. We'll see if we can alleviate some of those
Let's
issues.
hope
during
so.
the night.
Let's
All right.
hope so.
Nat, you've just come back from where?
I've been in the USA.
For how long?
I was there for 5-6 weeks.
Doing what?
I did a bit of a food tour and looking at what they're doing over there, and also took my daughter to perform in Disneyland.
To perform in Disney?
Yes.
Oh,
She was
she
shaking
might,
a thing.
So she might be on the panel soon.
You never know.
You never know. She wants to be a
She'll
performer
give
when
you
she-
what for.
Everybody does. Why should she be any different? Hello, Chloe.
Hi, how are you?
How's the fitness industry?
Oh, always going strong, always going strong.
It
Can't
is, isn't
complain.
it? It's
Always.
one of those industries that's still growing.
Never gets old.
The
Never
health
gets old.
industry is just still growing.
Always new things to learn about. Yeah, it's always growing. I love it.
Is there a particular market that you see growing more than any others? Who do you look after? Do you look after women? Do you look after men? Do you look after everybody?
No, I look after women, only women. But I find that just the nutrition side of things is always really interesting, and it's always changing and growing, and I'm passionate about that side of stuff. But
We have Dr. Dingle on regularly here, and he's very big into gut health right now, which is
what we're saying. Yes,
the thing that we should be focusing on now.
That's it.
Rectify half of our inflammations. Bobby, welcome to the show, mate.
It's lovely to be back, Gary.
And it's been forever too.
I know, I've been away and I've been doing things, and I've sort of half gone back to work, so that makes it a bit hard.
Oh gosh, what's Sue doing? Did she usher you out? Did
She kicked me out today because my brother's staying with me and she wanted a bit of peace as well. So,
Oh, why didn't you bring your brother in tonight?
well, I was trying to, but he said no, he thought he had better things to do, mate.
What do you know about that?
Rebound WA is a great organisation. Used to be part of the wheelchair sports. I'm deputy chair of basketball, and we have wheelchair sports as part of that. And the best part about Rebound is they're trying to encourage people now to go into mainstream sport as a disabled person. So they're trying to get clubs to actually make sure that there's disabled people as part of their organisation. These guys face more challenges in a day and we face it an entire lifetime. So more power to them.
I was in the chair for 30 seconds.
We noticed.
It's not fun. Here we go, letter one. We'll talk more about Rebound WA and the Wheelchair Challenge in segment 3 if you'd like to get involved. Dear Mitch and panel, I was watching an interview with Tim Winton recently and I found him to be a very insightful, sensitive man. He stated that he doesn't have too many male friends because he finds that in many ways the misogynistic blokey culture that's been around for decades is still very prevalent, especially in our youth. No sooner had I finished watching the interview when my 18-year-old son and 3 of his mates came home to watch a movie together in our entertainment room. Tim Winton's view was clearly on display with my son and his mates. The conversation was base humour objectifying women. It was primitive. I don't know if I did the right thing by eavesdropping, but I was so offended I went in and sat with them and tried to initiate a poignant conversation about respect for all. They looked at me like I was from Mars and no one wanted to chat. My son asked if I was finished, as they'd like to watch the movie. I left but continued to eavesdrop. They didn't hear a word I said. If anything, it got worse. How do I change this? How do we change this horrible cultural thinking across the board? I had no idea we are so bad. I'm sure very few do. It comes to us from Robert of Burragoon here in WA. First up, Slim. Where are we on the scale?
Yeah, well, I've always wondered, the scale's changed a fair bit in the last couple of years.
We're getting better, surely.
We are, because I think it's becoming more obvious.
We're talking
in
about
media.
it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But I do feel that men are men and women are women, and I feel that women actually objectify men as much as men objectify women.
Oh.
But when it comes to misogyny or misogynistic behaviour, I think the greatest learning curve there is, if a male wants to behave that way in front of a woman, the woman can certainly put him back in his place pretty quick smart.
Absolutely.
And I think it's nothing like learning on the street and having to deal with the rejection factor until you sort of smarten up and behave in a certain way that's a lot more respectful.
Yeah, great. Now, you'd be one of those women who could put a bloke back in his box pretty promptly, aren't you?
I think that's the point, though. I think that, they don't do it in front of women. They wouldn't dare at this point in time. I mean, look at all the movements. You've got, the Trump thing, you've got the Weinstein thing, you've got all that the whole hashtag Me Too. And so I don't think it happens in front of women. And it's a shame, really, that guys have got to prove their masculinity, I suppose, and it's a little bit penguining, isn't it? The positioning.
Of course
and it's kind of, it shows immaturity, and he does say it's his son. And I'm sure if he was to take his son aside away from his friends, he'd probably agree with his dad. But he's probably better to teach his son how to manage within that situation so that does get, less and less common. I think that's more of an answer.
He's a young man, he's 18-year-old, he probably hasn't had too much experience with women, and when you reinforce that with all your mates, it probably comes out with this sort of thing. But they're allowed to learn and they're allowed to make mistakes. Are we getting better, Chloe?
I agree with most of the panelists. I don't think that men are any more worse than women. I think we both have our say in our own time and all that kind of stuff.
But it's been a bloke's world for thousands of years, and now we're trying to actually balance it all up.
That's what we've led you to believe.
So that's what you've led us to believe?
I think we all have our own perspectives on that. Can't get my words out today. On that
coffee,
view,
please?
on that view. But when he says down here, how does he change this? I really don't believe it's his responsibility to try and change the world and try and change everyone's view on whether men are like this or women are like that.
Just teach his kid.
I just think he needs to set an example for his child and try and focus on how he'd like the world to be perceived instead of focusing on what he doesn't want us to be. If you know what I mean.
He's not on a crusade, Bob, but he needs to teach his kid something, doesn't he?
Probably should buy him a pair of budgie smugglers. But, look, I think the best way to do it is to give him examples. Say, how would you like it if they talked about your mum like that? How would you like it if they talked about your sister like that?
Dilution.
Or your girlfriend. So you can twist it around the other way. Look, boys are boys, teenagers are teenagers. I've often heard some conversations with teenage girls that actually make my hair curl. Has been very different. It is part of growing up, but at the end of the day, times are changing. And I think it's time that we got sensible of it. My main concern is that develops into things like domestic violence, and you know but I think give them good examples, and set a good example yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the way you do it. We asked you people at home to answer this question for us. Is the blokey culture that objectifies women still alive and well in Australia? Here's what you said. Up on the screen there, 71% said yep, still is. Only 29% said no. Geez, I'd like to be mixing with those 29% of people to see how they actually overcame this issue. There you go. When we come back, we're going to be talking about going out for dinner. And what do you do when you come up against people who are loud, obnoxious, and just ruining for everybody? When we come back, more of Sweet and Sour. Don't go away.
It's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Welcome back to Sweet and Sour. If you'd like to send us a letter and have us discuss it here on the panel, send a letter to any one of these social media points coming up on your screen right now. There they are. See, we've got our website, we've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got any one of those. It's very easy to get in contact with us, and for every letter that does land here, we're going to send you to the movies, courtesy of our very gorgeous Natalie Cameron and NRC Communications. And the movie we're sending you to this week is I Feel Pretty, starring, does anybody know? Amy Schumer.
Yeah, I love Amy Schumer.
You like?
Love her. Love her.
Here we go. Dining Demons. Dear Mitch, it was our 20th wedding anniversary. I wanted to take my wife and kids to dinner at a particularly fine, expensive, upmarket restaurant that I won't mention, but it's on the south bank of the river, and this comes to us from Victoria. So, okay, well, we probably have a good idea and we know where it is. I wanted to take my kids because they're our blessing. It took many years of struggling with IVF, dieting, failure after failure, until we fell pregnant with the twins 10 years ago. They complete us. So you can understand my disappointment when I was told that children under the age of 12 were not permitted. My kids are always quiet, respectful, and very well mannered. Still, we left them with their favourite babysitter while their beautiful mum and I dined out. We had the worst night of our lives. Not only did the tables all around us have teenagers behaving badly, we had adults loud, drunk, and disgusting in our ears and eyes. I'm sure the behaviour of patrons is not the responsibility of the establishment, but those other tables must have had more dollars than my wife and me because we were largely ignored. My wife and I are livid. How is it that fine restaurants would insist that my children be excluded in preference to these pigs? Is this a reflection of what we are as a society today? Do we prefer the dollar of gutter gropers rather than allow for the warm, loving family dining experience? Tell me where we are nowadays, please. Kel of Kew in Victoria. First to you, Bobby.
Obviously wasn't a Greek restaurant, Gary. But obviously, again, from Victoria, you shouldn't eat at the MCG, because that's exactly what you find. But look, I think at the end of the day, you pick a restaurant that's going to suit who you're taking. And obviously this one didn't.
That's right, you do, don't you?
You know, there's some great family restaurants around. There's a great one in Perth, Sienna's. I shouldn't say that, we're on air.
Yes,
but,
you can, Andrew and Anthony, fantastic.
Great family
Hey, boys.
restaurants. Great family restaurants. And
Great
at the end of the
family
day,
restaurants.
I've also got to say that if I was taking my wife out to celebrate our years of marriage, I don't think I'd be taking the kids with me.
Yeah. You've got to be
It's
more
about your
romantic,
wife,
don't you?
it's not about your kids at that stage. You know.
Yeah, your choices. Chloe,
And the other thing is vote with your feet. Vote with your
Don't go
feet.
there
Don't go
again.
back there again.
You don't like
and
it.
stick it on public media. I mean, do a review. Do a
that's
review.
right. You've got a voice nowadays, don't
Do a
you?
review.
What would you
Sorry,
do, Chloe,
Chloe.
if you found yourself in this position?
Oh, I'd hate it because this reader's going to hate me, but I really don't agree that kids should be at any restaurants. When I go to restaurants, I don't want screaming kids around me.
What about screaming adults? That's the point of the letter.
Now, at the end of the day, if you've got screaming adults around you, that's just, you've picked a bad night to go out for dinner. I'm sorry, that's as easy as that.
Can't help it.
That's as easy as that.
That's what happens.
If you want to spend the night with your kids, you go get fish and chips on the beach. Don't take them to a
I
restaurant.
like fish and chips on the beach.
That's what I reckon anyway.
Do we have a culture of loud, obnoxious, boozing patrons?
I think we
Look,
think we do?
you know, until recently I had a
Bob
restaurant.
says we do over there.
Why is the music so loud now?
Wherever you go.
It's an old man comment.
They turn it up.
Old man comment. Oh, that's...
You said it, Gary. You said it.
No, Matt said it.
I said it under my breath and let him take the fall.
Sorry, Matt.
Look, I think that when you're going out, you don't know what you're going to get. You know, he did give us a lovely little personal story. Obviously, that's what was on his mind. In that case, you know, hire a personal chef at home if you want to spend a special
That's
time.
romantic.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
nice.
I'm a personal chef.
Kids.
I can do that stuff.
Is that what you do?
Fly me to Melbourne. No, I think that we do, and people can be inconsiderate, but that's what happens when you go out. You don't know what you're going to come across, and you do need to choose your venue wisely. And I agree very
Welcome
much
to
with
life.
Smooth Bob over there about it is about your wife.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy going out without kids around me, and would love to know one in Perth where I can go without my 2 children or anyone else's.
Last word, Slim.
Well, after 10 years of bringing up twins, you'd think you'd be due for long service leave. So not just take a night off to go to dinner, maybe take a month off and see how generous their favourite babysitter's going to be looking after them for a month. And I reckon, you know, forget about the other people, the adults at the restaurant, just enjoy your time together and enjoy the anniversary. I personally would not want to have my kids with me on an anniversary dinner, but that's not being terrible towards the kids. It's just showing more acknowledgement to your wife for, you know, a good 20 years of marriage, but 10 years of wedded bliss with children.
Yeah.
We asked you people at home, should restaurants be allowed to ban kids? And here's what you said. There we are on the screen. 29% said yes, you should ban kids, and 71% said nope, don't ban kids. When we come back, we're going to be talking about whether recycling is real. Take away, more of Sweet and Sour. Is recycling real?
Hold on. Hi, my name's Lukey, and you're watching Sweet and Sour. No, it wasn't funny at all. It died.
It's time for Sweet and Sour. Right here on Sweet and Sour.
Back with the cap, Rebound WA Wheelchair Challenge, which apparently I'm going to do. Now, if you want to be part of the Wheelchair Challenge and raise some funds for those people who aren't as fortunate as us, they're not as able-bodied as us, but believe me, they're probably stronger than all of us, check out any of our social media points and we'll have some reference points how you can get involved with it. Bob, you've been involved for a little while. Yep. We've got some photos too that we might show you as well. Where are they? Mr. Director, can we have some photos up there? The first one's, look at that.
That's a fishing program we run out of Fremantle Sailing Club, and they're all guys that are probably fitter than us. They go out fishing, and in fact, quite a few of them have joined the club now as members.
Isn't that amazing?
It's about getting people into mainstream club culture, if you know what I mean.
And do they? We've got another photo.
Yeah, they catch more bloody fish than I do.
Of course they would. There we go. And what's that?
That's wheelchair basketball.
Now, you were saying earlier that even in the Commonwealth Games just now in Queensland, we had one full body event followed by
a disabled event.
A disabled event. There we go. We've got archery.
Archery.
Gosh, it's an amazing organisation, and it really just makes you realise that we're all people, and no matter the disability, we can actually make sure that people have a very normal life, and society is about making everybody feel included.
And it's not about charity, it's about support. And it's about making sure that people, regardless of their diversity, are part of our community.
Well said, Bob. Wheelchair Challenge and Rebound WA. It's a con. Hi, Sweet and Sour. Just like recycling is a total con because Australia doesn't have the ability to reprocess most of the yellow bin waste, this plastic bag ban is rubbish. Jeez, that's a hard thing to say. Plastic bag ban is rubbish. One of our largest supermarket chains has taken the initiative to shamelessly profiteer. They've withdrawn the plastic bags available at the counter and replaced them with bigger plastic bags at the counter that we now have to pay 30 cents each to use. Am I the only one who thinks this is totally shameful? Seriously, what is it? What is wrong with us? We need to live the change we want to be, but it seems that we only want to be cashing in, and to hell with our health. the health of our planet and our next generation? Why is it that Australians overall lack the will to be responsible in any way? Are we becoming the ultra-dumb and indulgent nation of the world? Layla of Wattle Park in South Australia has written to us. Natalie, what's going on with plastic bags? Do you know?
They account for 20% of our oil consumption.
Do they really?
Yeah, really.
So you do know. Very smart. Well,
You
that's why
asked.
we're making a move to get rid of them.
15% of our greenhouse gases. And, you know, and plastic is everywhere. I mean, I always remember seeing that picture of that, you know, the little turtle and he's strangled by the six-pack thing.
Yeah.
You know, and where does convenience over cost come? Because that plastic bag that you're complaining about, that's a convenience. At the cost of what? So I'm not going to complain at all. It's a fine. It's a fine for bad behaviour.
But
No, you should be bringing your bags from the back of your car. They even have, what more do they have to do? They've got signs in the parking lots, don't forget your green bags. I mean, you remember to pay for your parking, don't you? Why? Because you're going to get fined.
Is the point of this letter, though, that they think, hang on, what's going on here? We're just replacing one plastic bag with another plastic bag.
Okay.
And it doesn't really happen.
Okay.
Because recycling isn't
So
really happening.
why do you have to use their plastic bag at all? What,
That's right.
you don't have a cloth bag that
You don't
you
have to
can
buy-
use?
you don't have to spend your 30
The point is they need the bag because they haven't bought one.
Slim?
Well, I've been recycling since I was a young fella, way before it became cool and groovy. No, but seriously, I was. You know, when it came to clothes, if your jeans got sort of ripped, you know, below the knee or just above the knee, I'd sort of cut them off and they become denim shorts. And, you know, every time I used a condom, I used to wash it out and put it on the clothesline. The only time I had to stop doing that's when the neighbours used to complain about it. You know, what's going on here?
You're still using plastic bags.
Well, you know, exactly right. No, but seriously, I do feel that, you know, it's, as Natalie said, it's so much easier just to take a bag out of the back of your car. I mean, most people are going to drive to the local shop. And even if they don't, carrying a bag is a bit of sort of exercise as well, I think. And just be a bit more conscious about the fact that plastic is not breaking down. And that's becoming an issue, you know, for the rest of the world. And it's something that it's going to be a terrible legacy to pass on to our children.
Terrible. We asked you people at home this question: is the replacement of plastic bags in supermarkets by thicker plastic bags that we have to pay for a total con? 86% of you said yes and 14% of you said no only. Well, don't buy them. Bobby, is recycling actually happening in Australia?
Sort of, but not enough, quite frankly. Do yourselves a favour, everybody, and go and watch that documentary, A Plastic Ocean. You won't argue at all about recycling after that.
Yeah. Chloe, what's your view on recycling? Do you recycle at home?
Absolutely. I've got a separate plastic recycling bin and I have my normal waste bin. And yeah, definitely, I'm big on recycling and I'm big on littering and all that kind of stuff. It's massive. I probably don't know too much about it and how it should be done to have too much of a say on it, but I think Layla's a bit of a whinger, I reckon. I think she needs to get over it.
Message.
And I think if you don't want, like everyone's saying on the panel, if you don't want to pay for it, don't pay for it.
Buy
Remember your
yourself a
bags.
shopping bag.
Just do it.
Just do what you need to do for the environment and get on with it.
I was at the markets the other day. My aunt had a pack of 8, you know, the little bags that you put the fruit and veggies in. Let's not forget about the bigger bag. She had a pack of 8 of those in a little purse pack, cost her $19 off of the internet, and it was all kind of mesh ones. She just reuses them. Right?
Say good night, Nat.
Good night.
Good night, Slim.
Good night, Gary.
Good night, mate.
Good to see you again.
See you again soon, too. Good night, Chloe.
Good night.
Good night, darling. Good night, Bob.
Good night, Gaz. Lovely to see you again, mate.
Lovely to see you too. Terrific to have everyone here. Thanks for watching Tonight Australia, and thank you to all our crew tonight as well. Good night, everybody. Wave now. That's what you do. Good night. See you next week. Bye-bye.
That went quick.
Always does. Always
The
does.
last one always gets you.
Once it gets going, evaporates.